All right, today we're going to talk about the thing that powers, well, everything you do. We're exploring the neuron. This tiny, tiny cell is the secret behind every thought you have, every emotion you feel, and every single action you take. Have you ever really stopped to wonder about it? How does a simple thought, like, I'm going to snap my fingers, actually turn into a physical action? It feels instantaneous, right? Almost like magic. But it's not magic. It's an unbelievably fast physical process happening inside you. And the answer to that huge question starts with a really, really small journey. So to get our heads around it, we're going to follow the path of just one single signal as it travels through one of these magnificent messenger cells. So let's meet the star of our show. Say hello to the neuron. This is the core information messenger for your entire nervous system. You can kind of think of it as a biological wire and a microcomputer all rolled into one. It's the essential unit that carries commands from your brain out to your body and zips all that sensory information right back up. Every journey has to start somewhere. For our little signal, it all begins by getting a message from a neighbor. This is basically the part of the process where the neuron is listening in. And the journey kicks off with these really cool, intricate, tree-like branches called dendrites. They look like tiny trees. They act like the neuron's antennas, constantly picking up chemical signals from thousands of other neurons that they're connected to. Now, all of those incoming signals flow from the dendrites into the cell body, which is also called the soma. You can think of this as the neuron's command center. Its whole job is to gather up all of those signals and decide if the message is important enough to pass along. And sitting inside that command center is the nucleus. So if the cell body is the command center, the nucleus is the CEO. It holds the blueprints, the DNA, and directs all the cell's activities, making sure the neuron has everything it needs to function properly. Okay, the decision has been made. The command center says the message is a go. Now it's time to send that signal, and it needs to travel fast, and it needs to travel far. The message gets converted into an electrical impulse that shoots down this long single fiber called the axon. This is the neuron's information superhighway, carrying that signal away from the cell body and towards its final destination. So how in the world does this signal travel so quickly without just fizzling out? Well, the first part of the answer is this incredible stuff called the myelin sheath. It's a fatty layer that insulates the axon, kind of like the rubber coating on an electrical wire. And this insulation is absolutely critical. When it gets damaged, like in diseases such as multiple sclerosis, signals can slow way down or even fail completely, disrupting everything from movement to thought. And the little workers that build this critical insulation, they're called Schwann cells. They wrap themselves around the axon over and over again to create these segments of myelin sheath. They're basically the essential support crew for this biological highway. But their design has a fascinating secret. And here's that secret. It's a brilliant biological shortcut. The myelin isn't a solid tube. The Schwann cells leave these tiny, uninsulated gaps called the nodes of Ranvier. The electrical signal doesn't just flow smoothly, it actually jumps from one node to the next, like a stone skipping across water. This leapfrogging action is like hitting a turbo booster, making the transmission incredibly fast. So our signal has raced down the axon at incredible speed and reached the end of the line. But the journey isn't over. Now comes probably the most crucial part of all, handing the message off to the next cell. At the very end, the axon splits into several branches, and each one ends in an axon terminal. This is the signal's departure gate. The electrical impulse has arrived, and it's ready for the final handoff. But here's the catch. There's a gap. The axon terminal isn't physically touching the next neuron. It's like trying to shout a message across a tiny canyon. So how does the signal cross this chasm? It does it with a remarkable transformation at a junction called the synapse. When the electrical impulse arrives, it triggers the release of tiny chemical messengers. These chemicals float across the gap, they bind to the next neuron, and they start the whole process over again. The signal literally changes form. It goes from electrical to chemical and then back to electrical. The baton is passed. We've just followed a single microscopic message on its lightning-fast journey, and it seems small, but when you zoom out, the scale of this whole operation is, well, it's truly mind-boggling. So let's just recap the whole thing. A signal is received by the dendrites, it's integrated in the cell body, it's then transmitted down the axon, and finally it's passed on across the synapse. Receive, integrate, transmit, pass on. That simple circuit is what powers your entire nervous system. And remember, that was just one signal. So I'll leave you with a final thought. What happens when trillions of these journeys are firing every single second, creating a network of connections so complex it's almost impossible to imagine? What happens is your thoughts, your dreams, your memories, it's all part of the beautiful orchestra inside your head. And today, we got to appreciate one of its most vital players.